Hey guys, so in this video now I'm going to be showing you how to use functions that have return values or outputs. So if you watched the previous videos, you noticed that we were just printing out the values from inside a function. Sometimes we want to assign these values to like variables. So go and call my function, make the function and give it a name, and this time let me call it outputs, and this is where the input goes, and the special syntax for giving outputs is this arrow, and then you have to declare the type that is going to be returned. So in this case we're going to give back a string. So I'm just going to return a simple string that says hello world. So when I call this function, it's going to give back this value. So call the function here, and so running the function, you should see that nothing shows, right? And this is because when you return a value, you're not necessarily printing it out to the console, but we can assign this value to a variable. So I'll call this returned value, right? Just to make it a little bit clear what's happening. So I'm making now this variable called return value, and I'm giving it this value. Whatever is given back from this function is given to this return value. And now we can print that. Can print return value here, and that should show us hello world. So this is a very basic function that has a return value. As you can see, it's not taking any inputs, and it's not really doing anything else apart from returning this value. So I'll make another example now that takes in some inputs, does something with that, and then returns value. So previously made some functions that were adding and multiplying numbers. So here I will make another function that does something sort of similar, and let me call it multiply. Okay, so I'm going to multiply again two numbers here. First one is going to be called first. It's going to be an int, and the other one is going to be called second. It's going to be an int, and remember, these names are completely random. You can assign whatever you want. And so before we return a string, here I'm going to return an int because we're returning a number. And then, so what I want to do is, I want to multiply these numbers. So first times second, right? This is what I'm actually doing with the function, but because it returns a value, I must include the return keyword, otherwise my function will give me an error. And now I'm returning whatever value I get back from this multiplication, and as before, if I just call the function here, I have to give it some inputs. 20 times 20 gives 400. Let's run that. we don't see anything because we're not printing it out. So I'll give this value to a variable called a product, since in mathematics if you're multiplying two numbers the outcome is called the product. And then I want to multiply these two. I'll call that multiply function, and I'll just comment this out. And now I'll multiply 30 times 4. Right? And now I can print that. So I'm multiplying 30 and 4, and I'm giving it to this variable. I'm giving the outcome to this variable named product, and then I'm printing out that product. And we can see here we get 120. So this is how you use functions in Swift that return a value here with no inputs, declaring the data type, and here return a value with some inputs. And again, every time we return something, it's this arrow key and this data type here.